Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. I got a question, or maybe it's an observation, however you want to phrase it, but I've always been puzzled by people who claim to be a Christian. They claim that they believe in God. They claim that He's very important in their lives. Some even goes so far as to say, their priorities is God, family, country. But yet when Sunday rolls around, they don't go to church. They'll have every excuse under the world as to why they don't go to church. Oh, the church house is full of hypocrites. Well, I'll slide over and you can sit beside me. I'll make room. Or they'll say, well, I don't like the music. Or I don't like the instruments being used. I don't like that. They have a whole list of things. But I've always wondered and pondered, if God is so important in their life and they want to worship Him down here, the Bible tells us that we're going to worship Him in heaven. So if they don't want to worship Him here, how are they going to worship Him in heaven? Maybe somebody can leave a message and explain that to me, because I've never been able to figure that out. I've repeatedly said, because of my work schedule, I don't get to attend church on Sundays as often as I'd like. I spend time in His Word studying, and I try and listen to online, but it's so easily distracted when you're listening online. You'll make a sandwich or you'll eat chips. It just doesn't work out where you pay attention. And not only that, it's just not the same. Anyways, for me, I'd rather be in the church house with other believers listening to a good message. There's just something, it just seems like a better way to worship than by yourself. If you have to, you have to. If you're ill and shut in, I'm not getting on to those people. I'm talking about the people that legitimately, there's nothing wrong with them. They could go to church on Sunday morning, but instead they go to the golf course, or they go fishing, or whatever. But I've always, like I said before, I've always wondered, they claim that God is very important in their lives, but yet on Sunday morning, they don't want to go to His house and worship Him. Maybe somebody can explain that. There's even I found a passage that even tells us that we should meet together. And in Hebrews, the 10th chapter, verse 25 says, not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So I get from this passage that we should be together on Sunday. We should be encouraging one another, building one another up. But if you don't come to church, how are you growing? How are you growing in your faith? How are you growing in your walk? Because it's very difficult to do if you're not into the Word, or you're not listening to other sources of preaching and that. But then again, it's like I said earlier, if you're listening online, there's 100 distractions, and before you know it, you're checking Facebook page or making a sandwich, like I said, or whatever. But maybe somebody can answer that this morning. Leave a message, or leave a text and explain how, if God is so important in your life, but you don't want to worship Him here, how are you going to worship Him in heaven, when I'm sure there'll be more singing praises to the King and worship Him at longer intervals than we do on Sunday morning at the church. Sunday school's an hour. Church services usually runs an hour. Singing is 15, maybe 30 minutes of that. So the preacher gets, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, because if he runs over, then the Sunday school teachers get upset because they're cutting into Sunday school time. But just a thought, just a question. The other thing is that when I am home and I'm able to make church on Sundays, if the family has something planned and I don't attend church, but I go to that family gathering, I have this feeling all morning that I'm not where I'm supposed to be on Sunday morning. It's like just like an uneasy feeling, almost to the point like when you were in school and you got sent to the principal's office, you knew nothing was good was going to come out of this. I have that. It's for me, it's that type of a feeling that I've broken a rule, and it's just an uneasy feeling, and I usually don't end up enjoying the day. Whereas if I went to church that morning and then went to the family outing, I have a better time. Wonder why that is. For not forsaking our own assembling together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. For if we go on sinning willfully after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sin, but a terrifying expectation of judgment and the fury of fire which will consume the adversaries.